Republican leaders say Connor Lamb's victory in the Pennsylvania special election is a wake-up call for the GOP. Our next guest took it a step farther, calling it a good old-fashioned ass-kicking. Joining me now is Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Alice.
It's hard to put a finer point on it than a good old-fashioned ass-kicking. I think I know what you mean by that. But would you say that Republicans are scared today after what they saw yesterday?
Well, I can't speak for all of my colleagues. I mean, I'm not scared. I'm curious. I mean, we lost, and we were supposed to win, and it was a fairly safe Republican district. I think the voters, at least in that district, are trying to tell us something, and we ought to listen. I don't think we ought to insult the American people and try to spin it. I remember when Scott Brown, a Republican, was elected senator in a Democratic state in 2010.
Yeah,
and
Massachusetts.
I remember our Democratic friends tried to spin it, and I remember at the time thinking, you know, that you must think the American people are dumb. They're not. They get it.
But what is that message? I mean, I hear you, and you said you have to listen to what happened to what the voters are telling you, but what is that message?
You know, I don't know yet. People smarter than me will figure it out. I hope once they do figure it out, that all of us, especially Republicans, but including Democrats, will pay attention. Some are going to say that it's turnout. I know that. Others are going to say, well, all politics is local. That's not true. Some politics is local. But in the federal race, what's going on in Washington, D.C. matters. And we need to listen to this. It's important politically, but I think it's also important. Hey, the American people are trying to tell us something up here.
Do you think they're trying to tell you something about President Trump?
Don't know. Could be. They're telling us that there's something going on in Washington that they don't like, and obviously, at least those who came out and vote are blaming the Republican Party for it. And I'd like to, if we're making a mistake, I'd like to be corrected.
Okay, so students across the country are also trying to send you a message. They walked out of their schools yesterday in protest. They, of course, are trying to stop school shootings and gun violence. You're on the Judiciary Committee. One of the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee, Dick Durbin, heard it this way. Listen to this.
We ought to listen. And instead, what we have, sadly, are weak responses all around. And why? Well, in a lucid moment, a couple weeks ago, the president identified it. Politicians are petrified by the National Rifle Association. And the question we face, very honestly, is whether we're petrified by them. I'm not.
What's the answer to that, Senator? Do you think that politicians are petrified of the NRA?
No, I'm not. I can't speak for all my colleagues. I'm not petrified by the NRA. I am awed by the Bill of Rights, the United States Constitution. We all have a Second Amendment right as Americans, if we choose to exercise it, to own a gun. It's fundamental. It's inalienable. The majority can't take it away from us, just like our right to worship the God of our choice or no God at all, just like our right to free speech. The debate we're having in Washington is what reasonable parameters can be put on that fundamental, inalienable constitutional right to bear arms that are constitutional, and reasonable people are disagreeing over it.
Yeah.
I understand people want to stop the violence. I do too. But at the same time, I want to see both sides of the equation. For example, when a jihadist who happens to be a Muslim blows up a school and kills children, we're told not to judge the acts of all Muslims or all Muslims by the act of one or two. And I agree with that, Allison.
Yeah.
But how come the same rule doesn't apply to the 80 million gun owners in America?
But I don't think that that's true, Senator. I mean, when a school shooter goes into a school, we don't say lock up all 19-year-old boys. We try to figure out what the commonality is. And frankly, it does seem that there's a commonality with AR-15s.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a cause. Let me give you, for example, we have 300 million guns in America, about 100 million handguns, 100 million rifles, 100 million shotguns. In the 20 years before 2013, gun ownership in America went up 50%. Gun homicide went down 50%. I'm not going to vote to take away somebody's constitutional right unless I'm certain that the benefits outweigh the costs.
I understand. Of course.
And I wouldn't do that for any fundamental constitutional right. I understand. I can make one of the point. I understand some of my colleagues. They just don't think that guns are appropriate for American society, and they're entitled to believe that, but our Constitution says otherwise.
I think that you're going too far, okay? I don't hear any of your colleagues saying, let's get rid of all guns. I hear your colleagues saying, let's put some parameters on it, just like we actually do have parameters on our First Amendment right to freedom of speech. You're not allowed to yell fire in a movie theater. So what are the parameters? And I think that that's what they're debating. But listen, we're almost out of time, and I just I just need to get your take, because you've been so outspoken about what's happened on United Airlines with pets and with these dogs. So United Airlines has just announced that their new solution is that they're going to put a bright yellow tag on a carrying case with a dog or a pet in it so that those are not put in overhead bins. Do you want to see them go farther?
Yes. Look, in a lot of respects, dogs are how people ought to be. Pets, particularly dogs, are family members now. I've got 2 dogs at home. One's a beagle. I don't know what the other one is, but I love them both, and I wouldn't ask Becky to choose between me and our pups. And what happened on United was disgraceful. This was a 10-month-old puppy, belonged to a little 11-year-old girl. They'd paid $125 to bring Coquito, that was the puppy's name, on the plane. And I don't know what happened, but I do know that 3/4 of all the pet deaths on planes every year, and customers are paying to bring their pet on the plane. That ought to tell you how much they love their dog. 3/4 have happened on a United flight. Now, I don't particularly enjoy having to legislate or trying to legislate common decency, but by God, I'm going to do it until they take this seriously.
And so you are going to prohibit airlines from putting animals in overhead bins. It does seem like it should be common sense. Yeah. But that's where we are. All right, Senator John Kennedy, sorry we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Alice.